Oh no. I have discovered some very, very alarming news. Do you realize how lucky I am right now? In this video, we're going to be building an interesting PC. We've got an interesting case and we've got an interesting GPU. This is Intel Arc. So let's build this PC. CCL is the place for your creator PC needs. Their wide range of products offer extremely competitive pricing, and in fact, in my experience, I have found that CCL's price is the best price on the market. There's also a 0% interest purchase option available to spread the costs. Use the code TN10 to get a special discount when spending over £250. Check out CCL and their latest pricing in the video description below. Alrighty, look at that. It's very, very nice looking case. Very small. We've got ventilated side panels. With these PCs, you always have to get instructions out because it's slightly different than usual, because they pack all sorts of like features in here, and also there's a certain way how you should be actually installing things. Instructions, stand or the bottom panel, and the screws, and also this PCIe kind of riser cable, but it's the shortest riser cable. It's like a one inch riser cable. Okay, I think this is interesting actually here to show different configurations that you can do inside this PC case. First of all, you can do air cooling configuration, which we're going to be going for. Then you've got home theater configuration. Then you've got motherboard in there, but instead on the top of having a GPU, you'll have a radiator, like 280 radiator, because if you have a radiator, you won't have space for a GPU in there. And then third of all, you can have all-in-one water cooling configuration. Front panel is actual mesh, like a fabric mesh. I don't think that this is gonna let through a lot of airflow, but it's more there for the design. 4 screws, and then you can take the top panel off. In the bottom over here, you can install your 2.5-inch SSDs, which should just literally plug in there. For example, this here. Push it in there, and then route the cables on the other side if you wanna plug them in there, hard drives or SSDs. For the motherboard, we're going to be using the Asus Z790i Strix motherboard. Probably the best ITX motherboard you can get for it. Absolutely tons of features, and I highly recommend you go check out my channel for the full review. But you've got 2 Thunderbolt ports, really fast USB ports, you've got 2.5 gig LAN, super fast Wi-Fi, and also you've got 2 M.2 slots that go in here. I have actually cheated and already installed them previously because I've used this motherboard for some testing before. But you can see those M.2 drives being installed inside there. Both of those M.2 slots are PCIe Gen 4. Let's install our CPU. And for the CPU, I'm going to be using the 13600K because we're going to be air cooling this CPU. I want to see if we can actually air cool this 13600K, and if we can do this successfully in this PC, and maybe we need to pull the power slightly down. Before I'm going to install the RAM, I'm actually going to install the cooler first. And for the cooler, we are using the Noctua NHL 12S, probably the best low profile cooler here. And unfortunately, this is not black, so we're going to get a bit of brown and silver fans going, but it's all right. We want the best performance for our CPU, so hopefully this cooler is the one that's going to do that. Let's get it installed. So I've made a slight mistake and the cooler is going to have to come off. I kind of messed up which way is number 1. So in this orientation, the cooler is not actually going to fit. So you're going to have that kind of cooler pointing towards the RAM sticks. Right now it's pointing upwards. As you can see, it bends up and pointing up. It doesn't fit that way because the fan is not going to fit inside. So now for the RAM, we're going to be installing this Kingston Fury Beast RGB. This is a 32 gigabyte kit, and this is 6,000 mega transfers per second. Okay, so here's the thing. I have got the RAM installed here, but I am not sure I can actually fit the cooler fan there now, because as you can see, even this RAM is slightly too high, as you can see over here. We need something that is extremely low profile. So I've got another option here. These are just Kingston Fury Beast RAM sticks here. So without the RGB, let's see if these two. Actually, it is completely doable putting them in even when the cooler is installed, and it's not that hard actually. So what you have to do is then actually slide them in from the side and then slide it into the socket and then from the other side, and then you can get it in. If you try to get them in from the top, it's not gonna go really, but this way it is gonna go in. As you can see, this RAM has been installed, and let's have a look if we can install the fan now as well. So then, here's the big situation. This fan actually doesn't properly fit underneath there. Like from this angle, you can probably see it does fit into these gaps at first, but then the SSD heatsink here is completely in the way. So in order to run this cooler, you will have to take the heatsink off of the SSD. So the thing is, it's not really necessary to have the actual heatsink on there, because it will only cool the bottom side of the SSD, because the top side will be cooled with this bottom heatsink, because this heatsink, the top M.2 mount is like flipped upside down. But there won't be anything that will hold this SSD down. I mean, the motherboard does come with an extra like little quick latch little screw. So if I'm gonna try to apply this over here now, I might be able to keep the SSD held down like that. I mean, this is not perfect and not ideal. As you can see, this screw here is not like fully straight. It's just on an angle holding onto this SSD like on the side, so that we keep pressure on the backside as well, because it could just peel up like that. But do you know what? Sometimes PC building is a DIY. And now we should be able to install the fan. So make sure that the fan is pointing backwards like that, so that this is upwards, and then we can kind of slide the fan in. It's very tight, right, this way, and I still can't actually fit the clips. I can get the other clip in as well. There we go. It's very tight, and this clip here almost touches the SSD. I think there's a 0.5 millimeters in between there. And if you look at the RAM clearance, that's very tight here as well. We've done it, okay? We've got the cooler installed there. This is very compactly packed DIY PC build, and it's so tightly fitted. Like these heat pump pipes on the side here are like 0.5 millimeters off this big massive VRM heatsink. And now it's time to put the motherboard into our PC case. In order to do that, we actually have to undo this power cord extension on the back there. So there's two screws on the side. The good thing is right now, so far, all the screws are exactly the same. Okay, we'll have to undo these cables here a little bit. And also take this GPU extension out here. These are slightly skinnier screws. Okay, so this middle bracket comes out. I can actually put the GPU like PCIe connector back in here. So basically, when you get the case, all panels all around come off, then you can properly get it installed. Okay, now this motherboard is lined up over there. I mean, Fractal, that is a good thing that all the screws right now here that I have taken out from all sorts of the panels and screws and everything, they're exactly the same screws, so you don't need to worry about getting screws kind of lost. Now, once you have screwed the motherboard in, you can push this power connector back inside and take two screws. Now it's time to get our PSU out, and for that we're going to be using the Lian Li SB850. So this is 850 watt, 80 plus prons, but it also has the ATX 3.0 connector for the GPU. So if you are using any of the like 40 series or some of the 30 series even, Founders Edition cards or even some of the board partner cards, then this one has that connector in there. You know, the 600 watt connector, this one supports that. Also, when you're building a PC like this small form factor PC, then you often might have a lot of different parts and screws from different parts laying around. Keep the same parts with the same like kind of box. So motherboard stuff with the motherboard box, GPU stuff with the GPU box, the case stuff with the case box, because afterwards it's much easier for you to find stuff or to organize stuff or to get some stuff back. So I've got like everything organized around me, so I know like where everything is, so it kind of makes sense. Look at this tiny little PSU. And the thing is, you can actually install SFL PSU here as well, so slightly longer because it supports that. But I recommend you go with the SFX one, just because you're gonna have more space with your cables on the top there once you have this one. If you've got a longer one, you're getting a bit crammed and tight there. This one is more versatile in your future builds, because if you want to go even smaller case or some cases that only support SFX power supplies, then this one supports, you know, more of those. This one actually comes with two 8-pin CPU cables, or two 4+4 CPU cables, and then one single PCIe cable there. So this is another PCIe cable that has like a pigtail on it as well. And also the 12-pin now header. But here's the thing, this is not the best header for the 40 series, just so you know, because the 40 series will have like another 3 pins on the top there, or 4 pins on the top there, that will show the graphics card how many power plugs have been plugged in. And here it doesn't know that. So this is really good only for 30 series GPUs, because there's two 8 pins on one side and then goes to this header. So for example, if we are looking at this, this is Asus RTX 4080 TUF. If I'm gonna pull this adapter plug out from here, so you can see here, if you look very close by, this one has extra pins there. Can you see 4 of those extra pins there compared to this one? And this one only tells that there's only 3 cables. Some of them have 4. Like the 4090 has 4 of these plugged in. So you need to take off this PSU bracket that's on the side here. So there's 2 screws on one side and 2 on the other side. Fortunately, they're exactly the same screws again, so I don't need to worry about separating the screws. Now, when you're installing the PSU bracket, make sure that you install the PSU the right way, so that your fan is kind of upside down like this way. If you put it this way, then the PSU has nowhere to pull the air from the PSU. As you can see, there's just a solid bracket in the back over there. Just so you know, the screws for the power supply to plug it into the bracket or screw it into the bracket are in the power supply box. So there is actually 6 holes, but 4 screws, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit and I'm gonna do only 2 screws on both ends. That'll do for me. Now, before we're gonna put the power supply inside the case, what I recommend you to do is get all of these cables all around here and then plug them into the motherboard on all sorts of things. So the front panel Type C and Type A header, plug them in, and then take the ATX power for your motherboard and then plug that one in first. I'd recommend doing that because that's a big faffy cable there to get in. Also, our motherboard here has 2 special connectors to get actually some more connectors on the motherboard. And the interesting quirk about this ITX motherboard also is that it doesn't have front panel audio. So I am not sure how you would get the front panel audio working, because this cable basically here has become useless because the front panel audio ports there, they're not gonna work. Okay, here's the interesting thing. When you plug in the card, you can't actually utilize this cable now anymore, because as you can see, this fan now is covering half of the pins in the back there. Even though it kind of covers half of these headers, the front row is the one that we need, the power button and then power LED buttons. Before you plug in your PSU, make sure you put this extension cable in as well, because that will be quite hard to adjust later. Now let's do a little bit of cable management, because obviously there's cables coming in here, but we've got quite a bit of room over here. So I'm trying to get all these cables like moved as much on this side as possible, all the excess to put over here. We're also going to be adding a few extras to this case. I know it's already got 2 case fans here, but my plan is to get a little bit of a better optimization of the airflow. So if we can, I would love to use an 80mm fan somewhere on the sides here. And what else I have is these tiny little Noctua fans. So this is NFA4X20. And I'm thinking I might be able to put this on the bottom just over there to maximize the airflow to the CPU cooler. Just put it down there, just like that. So I've actually put the Y splitter on the actual CPU fan header. So as you can see now, this fan pretty much just nicely sticks there on its own weight and can nicely turn around and then push the air towards, like from the bottom here, towards the CPU cooler. And then I'm going to use an extension here for this PWM connector for the chassis fan. It looks like these panels are interchangeable, which means like the top and bottom cover. So you can have the power button here on the top or bottom. I think what I'm thinking now is I'm going to put the 3 80mm fans here on the bottom, right? So that it would push the air like from the bottom towards up. So this will be up here and then it will kind of come out here. I know our GPU will be there, but the GPU is not going to be that hot because we're running very, very low profile kind of GPU. So it will push it there and then it will kind of cool or have a little bit of an airflow for this here as well for our CPU cooler, which means that I'm going to actually flip our CPU little extra fan here the other way, which means that it will just take the hot air here and is going to try to exhaust it out from the top. And then our PSU is going to do exactly the same, pull in air from there and then exhaust it out from the top. This is another Noctua 40mm fan, and this is only 10mm in depth. The other one is much more. So I can put these 2 tiny fans on the top there, which means that it will pull the air out from here. And I'll have to have another Y splitter over there. So there we go, all the cables packed on this side. 2 fans in there pushing this out. They're not necessary, but because I have them here, I want to see how well does this actually work. So in terms of GPU now, we're going to be putting our GPU in there, but the GPU depth, what you can get is maybe 60mm. The length is quite all right, about 32 centimeters. So in essence, if you've got something like the likes of this Asus TUF RTX 3090, then you could actually fit it inside there. So as you can see, there is one slight kind of caveat with putting a 3090 in here. If you do want to put it in there, you'll have to take this third 80mm fan off from the top, just because if you look at where the card is going to sit, if you put it in there, you can see that this one here doesn't fit in there. In fact, you might struggle to have any of the top fans in there if you want to put this in, but this will go definitely in. In my case, I just want to try how does this Intel Arc A380 gonna work, and we're gonna put this one in because I think most people maybe don't want to cram that much power in there. And if you do want to do that with the GPU power, then don't buy a Strix card because they're slightly bigger. Buy a TUF card that's going to fit in here nicely. I'm not sure about 40 series. They're way, way, way bigger and they're not going to fit in here. I'm just looking at the Asus TUF RTX 3090 and 4090. So as you can see, this is bigger than the whole chassis, so they are not going to go in there. You'll have to put this extension in as well, this little extension bit, because that's going to actually reach it in there because the socket's not close enough. So in order to put the GPU in, we'll undo this top bracket. Before we're going to completely pack it in, I want to see if this is actually going to post. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just plug in the GPU as well, and then we're going to do a test boot. Here goes nothing. Here's the cool thing. If I don't know what's going on, for example, right now, when it's black, what we can do is use the ROG Strix Hive. Interesting, the Hive is not turning on here right now. Let me turn it off. Right, we're gonna clear the CMOS. There's a clear CMOS button in the back here. Let's see if that's gonna help. Okay, something is wrong somewhere. I don't know what's going on. This is really annoying, but we're gonna have to start making our way backwards now. Oh, I just discovered even the motherboard screws are exactly the same screws as all over the case. So they have used all the same screws, which is fantastic. Oh no. I have discovered some very, very alarming news. Basically, there is one absolutely tiny SMD right near this screw hole. So I must have just gently hit it when I slid the motherboard in, because basically this SMD is like sliding off right now. And this could be the problem there. So because it's not fully off, because I think it's like kind of ripped off, but there's some sides still open, I'm gonna do something very unconventional to try to save this motherboard. I'm gonna get some hot glue, a bit of hot glue there, to see if we can turn this motherboard on. Right now, I still have everything plugged in apart from the GPU. So I'm gonna keep that SMD there. Let's see if we can still get a connection gently with all of this, and if we can get a post. This is right Frankenstein work here. I've got that plugged in. I'm gonna give it some power. Let's see what we can get now. There we go. Look, that tiny little thing is the problem, because look at this now here. I've got the Hive working. Let's see, we're doing RAM right now. Okay, we should be getting a post now. There we go. Green, come on, give us a post now. There we go. We are in the BIOS. Oh my goodness. Do you realize how lucky I am right now? So basically, in order to save this, I'm gonna hot glue that SMD. Hopefully this is not gonna move. This is way too expensive of a motherboard just to let loose. So I'm gonna do everything to try to save this over there. I mean, I don't have any solder to just solder this, and I might accidentally solder it to like, there's literally a connector just on the side as well. So right now it's moving. I'm just gonna put it all in the hot glue, because hot glue is not thermal or electricity conductive. I mean, it's not professional, but at least we're gonna get it working. Goodness me. So I'm not sure if you can see this over here. Now I've got a bit of a more zoomed in camera there. That tiny little black SMD there. I'll have to take even a smaller kind of a pointing thing. Can you see that over there? That tiny thing was peeled off because I must have gently hit it when putting the motherboard in. So here's the big kind of tip for you. When putting the motherboard in, especially ITX, very gently. Don't like slide it over, because you might do something like that and then wreck a very expensive motherboard. Because you can see some of the SMDs are quite close. All the other screw holes don't have them as close, but this one has them right very close. This is probably the closest one here. I mean, it's amazing how close they can do some of these things. For example, this Noctua cooler there. There's SMDs there. They're probably about 1 millimeter away from the actual holes there. Whew. I'm hoping this did the trick. Let's just, before I'm gonna put everything back, I just want to see if this actually worked. So power in, I've got the Hive underneath here. Here goes nothing. CPU, RAM, VGA. Obviously I've got this plugged in. Go on, give us a green. There we go. Voila. In BIOS we are. So, seems like this is working. Now what we have to do is be very gentle when we're gonna plug it back all into the case. And then off we go. Okay, there's a lot of Y splitters going around. I'm actually taking a one cable that's 1 to 3, so split it into 3. Then the top ones, I'm all gonna put into this 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now they have become just one header. And then I've got 2 Y adapters. Actually, I could get away with just one, because I'm gonna plug these side fans, daisy chain them together, and then now 1 Y that comes from this header to then 2 of these. Now in ideal world, I wish I had more fan, like chassis fan connectors from the motherboard, so I could control them a little bit easier, so I can have maybe these blow a little bit faster than these ones, because these ones I think are going to be quieter than the big 140 ones on the side. So I want to blow these a little bit more than the side ones, so I can you know, push the air in from the bottom up, so that we can get a better airflow for our CPU cooler. Now, as you can see, I have a little bit of a hole in here, and your GPU could go longer, you know, depending which GPU you're going to go for. But whatever GPU you have, the max height with the top fans you're gonna have is about 115 millimeters, and that's literally hitting the fan there. Now, I do wish that Fractal had made it slightly taller, maybe just half an inch taller, because then you could fit a little bit more, you know, GPUs in there, different size of GPUs, and then have it longer. But that depends if you want those top fans there as well. If you don't want them top fans, then you have extra 25 millimeters. So we're talking about 140 millimeters in, you know, length there. Maybe 145 if you're lucky. I want this hole here to push the air further down there, because this is going to be back panel. It's going to be closed there. So hopefully it's going to push the air in, and then some of it is going to go kind of upwards, because this is actually the top. This is the bottom, so these will push the air up there to get a better airflow for this CPU cooler there. So here's the thing, you can kind of set this PC up whichever way you want. Like this can be the top or the bottom, because the top and bottom panels are reversible, so you can literally put it the other way, and then you've got the stand in there, and then the whole PC flips the other way. And then you can put it down horizontally as well on the side panel, because one of the side panels actually also has holes. Can you see these holes here? They're slightly bigger, so you can actually mount this sideways as well. Now also these panels are reversible as well, so you can put one on the left side, one on the right side, depending how you want it. But right now I've got it this way, so that these fans on this side will blow against this panel on this side, and then it would come up, like kind of helping the airflow boom outside the case like that. So now I've also plugged in the Wi-Fi antenna for this, because this motherboard does come with this awesome ASUS antenna. And here's the thing, it's magnetic, so you can put it anywhere you want, or just hide it even behind the PC, kind of down there, something like that, so you don't even see it. See, on all of these angles you can't see it. The same thing with the Hive. You can have it just somewhere like hidden on that side, or because it is magnetic, you can just clip it onto the case, and it will give you the audio inputs and outputs. Now, I'm not sure if this is a better audio input or output. I think it is, just because this will be digital rather than analog, like what we would have for the front panel HD audio. That's usually not the best audio. You might have a better audio quality, don't quote me on that. By the way, if you didn't know, the Hive actually comes with a USB BIOS like flashback as well, so you can plug in your USB on one of those ports in here and then update the BIOS. And then this is system reset key. I think you can adjust them, like what do these do, but I'm gonna leave it there so I can just see what's going on. And let's power our PC on now. Okay, so we are on Windows, and it's doing some kind of Windows install here, which is all right now. Let it do in the background. What I want to know is how good is the cooling in there. Okay, so we've got all of these working. I wonder how well does it work? I can feel that there's some warm air coming out from here. So this is where the CPU was coming, CPU is pushing the air out from there. And there's actually some warm air being pushed out from the top as well. So right now we've pulled 85 watts maximum from the socket and max temperature's been 73. CPU package is 67 right now there. 13600K. Let's put multi-core score on and let's see what happens here now. 85 watts, 150 watts, yikes, 160 watts. Let's see if we can keep up with it. We're 94 degrees, 95 degrees, 97 package. Okay, we did thermal throttle just a little bit. I think there was one, okay, 1, 2, 3 cores were thermal throttling there. But we got 19,546 points and we pulled 165 watts from the socket. That's absolutely ridiculous power being pulled for such a small cooler. Now this cooler is never meant to do that. I'm gonna put on a Puget Bench Photoshop benchmark here now. Because now, while the benchmark is running, we can monitor what the temperatures and wattages are in like a real world workflow. Let's say if you are like a photographer or something like that, you want something very, very small in a desk, quite powerful still though, then you could have something like that underneath your desk or in here. So we can see we have hit 85 degrees and to see if we are actually thermal throttling. Right now, we haven't seen the thermal throttling over 100 watts, so we're not like past 150 watts. We'll see if we're gonna ever hit that. Look at our core clock speeds. All of the P cores have hit past 5 gigahertz. All of the 6 P cores are 5.1 gigahertz. And all of the E cores have gone 3.9. Okay, we're almost done with the Puget Bench Photoshop benchmark now here. And look at that. The maximum degrees we've hit is 86 degrees. And we've pulled 123 watts from the socket. And we have not thermal throttled on any of the cores. As you can see, it's all no here. The interesting thing is that it is quite loud actually with these 140mm fans there. That's just the basic BIOS settings. You can tune them to the maximum like RPM so that they're still like kind of not annoyingly loud, and which you can do easily like on any of the Asus Armory Crate or just in the BIOS. You can do that as well. Just tune those fans, which you do. If you don't know how to tune those fans, check out my best fan tuning guide. And then I do think that these small fans in the top there are actually making a little difference. They're actually cooling the VRMs, which means that the actual air that goes to the CPU cooler as well will make slight difference there, especially if you're extensively using it over time. It does make a difference over there. And this motherboard actually has 2 fans already included, and then one of them just literally blows from the back of the IO shield inside to like cool the SSDs in there, like the 2 Samsung drives. That's actually gonna pull some cool air inside or underneath the CPU cooler as well. Now, what do I think overall generally about this case? I think this is absolutely fantastic. Look how much power we have crammed into this PC case. We have 14 cores and 20 thread processor there. Imagine a tiny little one here like that. So if you're a photographer, 2D guy, I think even video editing in like Premiere Pro or something like that, if you get an RTX 3050 or 3060 in here, you're gonna be solid with video editing as well, which is absolutely fantastic. We can put up to 64 gigabytes of RAM in there. Bear in mind, the actual RAM needs to be low profile RAM like the Kingston Fury we used in here, so go check that out in the description below because that's very, very tight in there with this cooler. This is probably one of the best coolers you could get for this. And we've got an Intel Arc in there as well right now. We've got absolute insane, like probably the best combination of encoders in there in terms of that. We've got the Arc media engines inside and then the iGPU inside there as well. Now this case is definitely not for everybody because obviously you can't put any GPU in there. Depending if you use this motherboard, you can't actually use the headphone jack in there, but here's where this Hive comes in, and I think this is absolutely fantastic. You can adjust the volume, you can update your BIOS without even opening this up or doing anything like that. Put the USB in there, boom, hit that BIOS switch, boom, it opens, updates your BIOS. You get an SSD there, you got your headphones and microphone jacks in there. So everything you have is actually in this hub, which I actually like. I think this is very interesting case. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you would have changed some hardware, let me know what you have changed. And if you want to build yourself the best bang for buck creator PC for your money, so the best performance for your money, then check out the links in the description below. You can find it all there. What parts to choose, how to build it, how to configure it, everything is down there. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Okay, I wanted to end with this after I turned the cameras off. I actually wanted to do another test on the Cinebench run. So I did a single run. Remember we hit like 19,000 there because it was doing all sorts of things in the background. Right now it's not doing that, okay? There's got still like few little background tasks running, but I did the run and look at that, 23,000 points, 23,600 points, which is absolutely insane. And we did not thermal throttle here, as you can see. I'll finish with this one. Thanks guys for watching. Bye bye.